What's up, guys? Something different today. I'm going to be doing a Q&A. This is the first Q&A I think I've done for a very long time. I'm going to see how this goes on YouTube. It's going to be a bit of a longer video, so I apologize if it's not very visually stimulating. You are going to be listening to just me talking, but you might learn a thing or two from it. It's a Wednesday evening. It's 9:30. I've had a busy day, but I'm going to answer these questions as best I can. We might not be able to get through all of them, but I'll do my best. The first one is, what is your 1 rep max for bench press, squat, deadlift, weighted pull-ups, etc.? The answer to that is I don't actually know, okay? The reason why I don't do 1 rep maxes, and the reason why I haven't done it for a very long time, is the risk of injury associated with doing a lot of those things, okay? So if I was to go try and do my 1 rep max on bench press, I have injured my shoulder in the past, okay? I would run the risk of screwing it up again if I tried to do something like that. The same with the squat. The last time I tried to do a 1 rep max, I felt something pretty nasty happen in my abdominal region. It was 180, I think 180 kilos, and something did not feel good. So I'm not a strength athlete. I don't care really. I mean, I guess it's nice to know what your 1 rep max is, but I'd much prefer to do a 3 rep max. That way, the risk of injury associated with doing that is much less. Okay, so to answer your question, I don't know. Second question, I guess it's kind of related. What's the worst injury you've ever had from training, and how did you adapt? Okay, so I think I've only ever had one serious injury because, as you well know, I train with control. I don't lift stupid crazy weights, and I practice very good form. That being said, though, this was probably years and years ago. I don't know how old, must have been 22, 23. I was doing a lot of barbell bench pressing with my training partner. We kind of used to try and outdo each other, and it was back. This was before all my personal training days, before I really knew, obviously, what I know now. And I definitely realized that when I was pressing with the barbell, I was not doing it properly, and my shoulder, particularly the left one, was creeping forward. And this was near the end of near the end of the rep range when I was starting to struggle. Instead of keeping my form, I was protracting my shoulder, and it didn't happen instantly, but doing that too much barbell pressing, too much heavy barbell pressing, and just pushing it, not keeping a solid form, I ended up ruining my rotator cuff. It got worse and worse to the point where I couldn't press above my head. And obviously, my job, I was in the gym all day, every day, and all I wanted to do was train, but I couldn't because I was physically unable to. And the only thing I could do was just rest in that situation. It was extremely frustrating because there's no magic thing you can do to be instantly better. You have to rest it. And what I did was I pretty much did no upper body for 4 to 5 weeks, which was horrendous. Really horrendous. Messed with my head. I lost a bit of size. Obviously, I could still train legs, maybe a bit of arms, but I was working in the gym and all the weights were just teasing me because I couldn't lift them, which was so frustrating. But all you can do is rest. I did some rotator cuff recovery exercises with the cables and stuff, but I just had to ease myself back into it. When I was ready to start lifting again, but it had to be very light, and I just had to ease myself back into it and avoid any movements which are causing it discomfort, such as wide grip pull-ups and barbell pressing. I think I avoided barbell pressing for months after that escapade. So yeah, rotator cuff injury, that was the worst one. Hasn't caused me any grief since, touch wood. Yeah, that answers that question. If I wasn't doing fitness, what would your career be instead? That is a very good question. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons why I got into fitness, first of all, it's not part of the question, but I'm going to tell you this story anyway, was because going to the gym was like the highlight of my day, and it was the only thing that really mattered to me. I was so focused, every day I just wanted to improve upon my physique. And the time I spent in the gym was like almost that highlight of my day. I just really enjoyed it. I felt like in the gym I was at home, so any job which I was going to do, I would have liked it to revolve around the gym. And obviously, this was even before Instagram, social media, all that kind of thing. Like, I'd already made a name for myself in Newcastle for being that guy who was in shape. And I saw that was my strength. Physically, in terms of my muscle mass and body fat composition, like I stood out, and I thought that if I can somehow make a career out of this, I'll be happy, and I will stand out because of the way I look. So that's obviously something which helped for me. But let's say, for example, I was not gifted with the best genetics, or that I just simply couldn't make a career out of fitness. I honestly don't know, because I think I always wanted to be my own boss and run my own business. And I remember when I was working at Hollister, this was before I got into everything, I was a manager in training. Well, I was a manager, assistant manager working in retail, and I was so frustrated. I was there stuck in this dead-end job, and I knew I wanted to create a business, but I didn't know what it was that I wanted to create. And it was so frustrating because I was like, what the hell am I good at? What could I sell? What can I buy and sell? I thought about getting into buying and selling shoes because I thought shoes were pretty cool. Obviously, that didn't happen. But honestly, if I wasn't in fitness, possibly could have gone down into the music career industry. Like I like my music, my rap music. I was very interested in producing. I like beats, so I could have happily sat at a computer and made beats all day, every day, okay, and possibly gone into the music industry, doing something like that. Or I'm very passionate about food. Like I love food. So it could have been, I would have loved to potentially set up some kind of gourmet food chain, such as like Five Guys or Shake Shack, something like that. Like I'm so passionate about food, and it pisses me off when you go somewhere to eat and they don't get it right. Like if you go to a pizza place and they give you the worst pizza, you're like, this is what you're supposed to, this is your speciality, you do pizzas, and you've managed to screw that up. Like, how are you doing that? The place, I love burgers. If I go to a burger place and you screw up a burger, it's like, this is what you're supposed to do, and you can't even master the art of making a perfect burger. So I probably would have gone into the food industry. But at the end of the day, to answer that question, I would still be my own boss. But what I would be doing, I have no idea. Next question. So someone asked me, has it been worth spending a huge portion of your life training rather than doing other enjoyable things, such as going out? Well, I don't think that person knows me that well. Okay, if you'd seen my transformation video, you would see that I did my fair amount of partying when I was younger. When I was 16, pretty much all the way up to the age of 22, 23. I did that a lot. I went out numerous times a week, particularly, when I was growing up. I was around, I grew up with a group of lads who loved to go out and drink, and that's what we did. We used to get off our heads. It was ridiculous. And then at university, it was the same story. And then in Newcastle's like party central city. So I did a hell of a lot of partying, but at the same time, I was training. And the thing that set me apart from a lot of other people were like, how do you manage to stay in such good shape? It was because regardless of how bad I felt, I would still go to the gym the next day. Even if I was hungover, I'd be like, no, force myself to go to the gym, because if I didn't, I'd be so pissed off with myself and I'd feel myself shrinking. It was like my therapy, and it was such a habit that I always went. And that, obviously the rate of progress which I saw when I was younger, it was much slower than it could have potentially been had I avoided all of those nights out. But I've had my fun. I've enjoyed it. And the thing is, when I go out now, if I go into a bar or a club, it just doesn't do it for me. Like, I've just stood there. You see everyone, like, there's bright lights, loud noises, everyone just chatting absolute bullshit to each other. You could barely hear everyone anyway. And it's just like, no, I don't really find this very exciting anymore. And the worst thing is as well, I can't deal with hangovers the next day anymore. Like, I'm only 27, but the hangovers I experience now are so brutal that it's just not worth it. And I've got to be on camera a lot, I've got to be energetic, I've got to be productive. I train a lot of people, and whenever I'm hungover or, not got good sleep, whatever it is, my job suffers a lot. So I can't really afford to do that. And I've just got interest doing different things now. Like, if I want to, instead of going out, like a lot of people will go out to, enjoy themselves in their spare time, I like to go abroad and travel. And for this person who says, a large portion of my life training than doing other enjoyable things, I enjoy training. And instead of going out now, I go and travel a hell of a lot more than I used to. Like this year already, I've been to Egypt, I've been to Rio, I've been to Austria, I've been to Thailand for a month, I've been to Portugal, I've been to Milan. So life is good, okay? I just don't go out and party as much as I used to anymore. Next question. What did I do before I was part of the fitness industry? Right, okay, let's go back to the beginning. I was a graduate from Newcastle University. I did economics and business management. Pretty much after that, I spent a summer abroad in Porto-Banús, working in the nightlife scene, which was a lot of fun, but it was an eye-opener to me, which basically I realized I did not want to do that for much longer. I came back home, did some more nightlife promotion stuff. Again, money was very inconsistent. I was struggling to pay rent, and then I actually got recruited to work at Hollister, which is the retail store, and I managed to pass my interviews. It was a decent graduate job, and I started working there as a manager, and I was there for about a year and a quarter. But then after working in retail, it was incredibly boring. Like I've said this before in other videos, I knew I needed to do something different. And that was when I realized the thing that I was really passionate about was going to the gym. But I couldn't go to the gym because I was stuck at work, okay? And that, like, say for example, I'd be at work from like 9 to 5, and then, at the end of the day, I was absolutely knackered, but I had to go and train. I just thought, it would have been so much better if I could train earlier on in the day. And it was when my housemate he was doing his course to become a personal trainer, and I saw what he was doing. He was picking his own hours, he was spending all the time in the gym, he was doing what he enjoyed to do, train people, make a difference. And then I was like, that is what I need to do. So I did my personal training certification while still working at Hollister. I literally was like 3 weeks of not one day off. It was constantly doing something. And then I quit Hollister, and then I started personal training people. Next question. What supplements are you currently taking, and what supplements do you not recommend? Okay, so the ones that I'm currently taking, 1 second, I'll show you. So the first one I'm taking is AHP Labs Isopept Zero. Now, the reason why I take this is a protein isolate. It's one of the purest forms of protein, and I've found that since it's a higher quality of protein, it's also lactose free. It doesn't give me any discomfort. Okay, there's a lot of protein shakes out there, different blends which don't agree with my stomach because dairy doesn't necessarily agree with me, but this one not only tastes amazing, it also agrees with my stomach, so that's a big factor. I'll also have BCAAs from time to time, although it's not as essential as I used to think. I used to think, every time you train, you've got to have BCAAs, otherwise you're going to disintegrate and lose all your gains. No, I think if you're consuming enough calories, even if you're in a calorie surplus, then you're going to be fine without them. But if you're going to be doing any fasted training, I do believe that these become more important, okay? It's each to their own. Sometimes I think it's a bit of a placebo effect. Like if I do consume them in the gym, I feel like my energy levels go up. But then I'm thinking, is that just because I think they're having a positive effect on my body, or whether it actually is enhancing my workout? It's hard to say, but they taste good, and it is useful to have, particularly if you're on a calorie deficit and you really feel like you're just running out of energy, or you just don't have enough calories in your system, and then these can really push you through your workout. Next one, not all the time I'll have this, but creatine monohydrate. It's something I will cycle from time to time. So if I know I've got like a really uninterrupted period of training where I'm looking to get as big as possible, I will do this for a couple of months and then I'll just come off it for a couple of months. Say for example, if I'm traveling, or I know for the next month my training's going to be good, but it's not going to be like hardcore, then I'll just leave it out. So it's on and off with the creatine. Another one I'll take is vitamin D3. I do believe that that's not focusing. Most people are very deficient in vitamin D3. I think the recommended amount is obviously going to vary for each individual, and also how much sunlight you get. So if I go out and I'm in the sun for a while, I probably won't supplement with vitamin D3. But if I go out and obviously I go for weeks on end without seeing any sun, which is very common in England, I tend to supplement between 3,000 to 4,000 IU. But I recommend you go check out Dr. Rhonda Patrick, because she seems to know exactly what she's talking about when it comes to vitamin D3 and specific dosages related to certain individuals. I'm not an expert on that. I just listen to what she says and I make my own judgments. The final one is this green, again you can't even see the focus, green superfood from Amazing Grass. So it's basically, this is a green powder chocolate flavor. It's kind of like a backup just in case I don't get all of my greens in my system. So, it tastes quite nice. Have it with almond milk. I won't have it every day, but I do have it most days. It's just a backup in case I don't get all my vitamins and minerals in. So, they're the main supplements I'll take. Supplements which I do not recommend taking, I think that's really dependent upon the individual. And I think if you are spending a hell of a lot of money each month on supplements and you're not prioritizing food, you need to stop spending so much of your money on supplements and spend that money on real, unprocessed, high quality food. Okay, what is going to make the biggest difference to your physique is your sleep, hydration, nutrition, training. Okay, they're the main things. Nutrition and training in particular, that's going to have the most effect. Okay, supplements, they can help to improve your physique and your body composition, recovery, and so on, but I think it's a little bit overhyped. Another question which is related to supplements is, what is your thoughts on creatine? Do I use it? I've explained that. And hair loss. The creatine and hair loss relationship. Are they related? So with creatine, I think it is extremely beneficial when it comes to recovery and improving performance. Okay, I do recommend it. When it comes to creatine and hair loss, it's funny because a few years ago I actually I saw someone did a YouTube video on this and I was like, what? Is this actually for real? Like, are the two related? Because I was scared, because at that point I was already starting to see some recede in my hairline. I was like, holy shit, if I'm taking creatine, am I going to be increasing the rate of the recede? I do not want this to happen. But I think it's mostly bullshit. From what I've read, it's not proven. But here's my overall thoughts on it, okay? If you're losing your hair, you're going to lose it regardless, okay? Creatine, if you take creatine, will it speed up the rate of hair loss? I don't know. It could do, but again, I don't know. If you've got a big, thick head of hair, creatine is not going to cause you to lose your hair, okay? You will keep that thick head of hair of yours. I'm very jealous. Next question. Where do I see myself in the next 5 years? That is a good question. Honestly, I don't know, because what I've learned in particular over the past year or 2 years, okay, was I don't even know what the hell's going to be happening in 6 months' time. And it's not because I don't have a plan, it's because I'm constantly evolving and growing, both as a person and with my business, okay? So what I might want to do at this point in time can change very quickly in a matter of months or weeks, okay? So let's say, for example, this time last year, okay, it was August, I had my gym up in Newcastle. Maybe let's go back up just over a year, okay? So 15 months ago or something like that, okay, I thought I was going to be staying in Newcastle in my business partnership at Aurora Athletic in my gym for the foreseeable future. And then a few things happened which made me realize, okay, I need to move on, because if I stay here, I'm not going to progress the way I want to progress. I'm going to be stuck in Newcastle, training the same people, charging the same hourly rate, because there's not much money in Newcastle. I would not be in a desperate situation because I was very comfortable up in Newcastle. I would have not had that urge to push my YouTube channel, and I would have been very unhappy because the business partnership I was in ended up being very sour. Okay, it wasn't working out, and I would have been trapped in it. Okay, so at that point, like 15 months ago, I thought I was going to be continuing to, be up in Newcastle, but in a matter of weeks, I changed my mind and I decided to come down to London. And it was the best thing I could have done. But that was not part of the plan. It just sprouted up out of nowhere. Okay, and in 5 years' time, so much can happen. Like literally so much. I have no idea what I'm going to be doing. I still feel I'll be doing something in the fitness industry for sure. I just think what I spend my hours on a day-to-day basis are going to vary. I feel as though I'm not going to do so much one-on-one coaching. I feel like I'm going to create systems in place which can help more people but take up less of my time. And I just want to spend more time doing the things which I enjoy. Okay, so I think the things which I enjoy the most at the moment would be content creation. And I guess in 5 years' time, I don't think I'll be in London. I reckon I'll be somewhere warm and sunny, that's for sure, because I can't deal with the cold here during the winter months. But yeah, honestly, 5 years' time, I just see myself being a completely different person. But being a happy one and a fulfilled one, hopefully. Next question. Have you ever considered expanding on this type of content to do a fitness style podcast? That is a good question. And yes, it's something I've considered because I spend a lot of my time listening to podcasts. And I enjoy listening to them because I spend, in order to become, or in order to progress, become a better coach, to just be better at life in general, you've got to allocate a certain amount of your time to learning different things, okay? And I find that I don't like reading books, and there's a lot of time which I spend, whether it's doing cardio, cleaning the house, cooking food, driving in my car, which is like dead time almost. Well, I listen to podcasts when I do that. And the thing is, when I create all these YouTube videos, I have to really cut them down and keep them within a 5 to 12 minute range, because anything longer, people like this video, people might just switch off. Whereas if you're listening to me in the car, you might be more, you might pay attention more. Okay, so it's something which I'm thinking of doing if there's enough interest in it. But if I'm going to do it, I have to give it a good stab, and I have to be consistent with it. So I just need to have everything in place beforehand. But yes, let me know what your thoughts are on that, because I would be keen to know if people are interested to hear a podcast from myself. What do you think are the most important attributes to have success in life? That's a good question. I think success can be defined in a number of different ways. And honestly, from what I've seen, heard, and I listened to the Tim Ferriss podcast, and he always asks his guests this question. Like, who do you see, who in your opinion is a success? And I think happiness has got a lot to do with it, because there's a lot of people who've made a lot of money, but they're not necessarily happy or satisfied. Okay, so you have to be happy. I think you don't necessarily have to have a family, but if you do, if you have a healthy relationship with your wife or your partner, if you've got kids, you spend a lot of time with your kids, you raise them properly, that, in my opinion, is success. And I guess if what you're doing, if you've managed to, you don't even have to have created a business, but if you have progressed in your career and you're happy with the progression, and you've done so in an ethical way, in other words, you're not screwing people over to earn money or get to where you are, again, I would say that is successful. Okay, so very dependent upon the individual, but in my opinion, that's what I think. Next question. Cardio right after the workout. Should you do it or should you not do it? How much does it actually affect your gains? Okay, first of all, I don't think it's necessary. Well, again, it depends on the type of cardio. Okay, if you're going to do any cardio after your workout, I would probably recommend that you do forms of high intensity interval training, because you don't want to be in the gym for too long. And for most people, when they go to the gym to train, is to build muscle. And you should really just keep it at that, okay? That session is focused on building muscle. You don't want to go to the gym to try and build muscle and then to try and burn fat at the same time. It's like, both are quite counterproductive, okay? Especially the leaner you get, the more counterproductive it is. So I would recommend doing forms of high intensity interval training, such as doing the battle ropes, or pushing a prowler, or possibly doing some sprints, or doing like intervals on the bike, rowing machine, whatever it might be. I honestly like to keep the two separate, okay? Because after I've trained, I'm pretty exhausted, and I'm like, right, it's time for me to go home. I don't want to spend another 15 minutes, half an hour in the gym. I want to go and do something else. If I'm doing cardio, I do it separate, okay? So I usually tend to do it first thing in the morning, low intensity, steady state cardio, so walking on a treadmill, incline around 10 to 12, keeping my heart rate around 120 to 130 beats per minute, and I'll do that for 30 to 35 minutes, possibly 40, depending. So I'll do that first thing in the morning, and I do it fasted, not because I think it's going to burn more fat, but simply because it just feels better to do it. Like, I like walking on an empty stomach. I don't like walking on a full stomach. I don't know why, it just feels weird, okay? So I'll either do it first thing in the morning or do it later on in the evening. And obviously it's not going to be in the fasted state when I do it in the evening, but I do it in what's called the post-absorptive state. So I'll do it after I've fully digested any meal prior to doing that cardio session. So that means once it's fully digested, okay? So that's usually it depends on the size of the meal, but it could be anywhere 3 to 4 hours after consuming any meal prior to that cardio session, yeah? But I don't think it's going to kill your gains, but I don't think it's recommended, okay? Cardio should be a last minute tool to help you to drop body fat, okay? I think if you have a solid training program designed to get stronger and build muscle, and you sort your nutrition out, your body composition will improve, okay? And if you really want to get serious about the cut and drop your body fat further, then you can start to incorporate cardio. But you don't want to be in a situation where you're doing cardio like 5 times per week, because it's not sustainable, okay? It's a no-no. Next question. What music do I listen to when I work out? It tends to be quite aggressive. I like my rap. I like my grime. I like the old school, like American rap, not whatever nonsense is out these days. Like literally the past few years, the industry's gone very strange. Like the mumble jumble rap. I don't know what's going on there. It seems to be really popular as well, which is a shame. But yeah, old school rap from like the 90s, early 2000s. Some grime. UK scene's doing very good at the moment. And yeah, just something that gets me pumped. And it's interesting as well, because obviously not everyone likes what I listen to. And I won't listen to it all the time. So what I listen to in the gym is not what I'm going to listen to in the car or outside of the gym. Okay, I go in there, I put something loud, aggressive, energetic on to get me in the mood. And then after I walk out of the gym, like even if I'm walking out and it's it's just the daylight, and I'm just like, whoa, what the hell am I listening to? And I'll just take it out. I'm like, whoa, that's too much. Okay, so I have my music for in the gym and I have my music for out the gym, but I like to listen to stuff which gets me in the zone. I honestly really struggle when it comes to training without music. I can do it with a training partner, but if I go to the gym and I forget my headphones, I don't enjoy the session. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love to train, because I love the music which I listen to. I really have a passion for. And when I combine training and the music I like to listen to, it's a win-win situation, really. Someone asked me why I don't have any tattoos. I don't know, man. I think everyone seems to get tattoos now for the wrong reasons, just because it's like a fashion statement. And I just can't think of anything which I'd want to get on me, which I would be happy with in like 10 years' time. You know what I mean? Like, if I had to get a tattoo, it would have to mean something deep. Like, deep. Okay, and I would, I'd have to be like 60 years old and be like, yeah, it was worth it. I don't want to have some wrinkly ass tattoo which I got on spur of the moment thing. Like, that's just not me. And I like my physique without tattoos. Like, I think it looks good. I feel like having a big tattoo like over my chest or something would just ruin my physique a little bit. That's my opinion. And I don't think I'll ever get a tattoo. If I do, it would be somewhere where the sun doesn't shine, basically. But I don't have any. I don't plan to get any. It's not my thing. And there's nothing I want which, I want on my body. Favorite cheat meals? That really depends on my mood. It's weird. My appreciation for food seems to get, it seems to increase year after year after year. I fucking love food. Like, even normal food, I'm just so happy to be eating something. But when it comes to cheat meals, okay, if I had to say top 5, sushi. I love sushi. A gourmet burger. A burrito. A nice Indian. Okay, and then the last one would either be Thai food or a pizza, but a good pizza. Okay, I recently went to Milan and I probably had the best calzone in my life. It was emotional. Next one, role models. Who are my role models? Everyone thinks that like I've got role models within the fitness industry, but I don't. I think there's actually very few good role models in the fitness industry. Most of my role models, or people I look up to, are people who've done well in business, who in my opinion are successful, who spread a good message, and are just genuine, down-to-earth people. I think there's a lot of fakery in many industries, particularly if you come into a lot of money, you can turn you into a bit of an arsehole. So people who manage to stay humble with a great deal of success are very inspiring to me. And then people who I've learned from. Okay, so I listen to Tim Ferriss' podcast a lot, and I feel as though I've learned a lot from him. So he really just spread a good message. I'd say he's a good role model. There's other people in the fitness industry, I guess, who I've learned a lot from as well, like Ben Pakulski. I think he's a really good role model. There's another guy called Mark Coles from Nottingham. He's a good role model. So there's a few out there, but it's one of those things in the fitness industry. There's not many good ones, unfortunately. Well, the ones with the big followings, anyway. There's a lot of talk about the keto diet lately. What are your thoughts? Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know why. I just feel like it's like a load of hype about it recently. Like, it's come out of nowhere, and I think if you can stick to it, there's nothing wrong with it. But I think it's associated, the benefits associated with it, or which people believe, like, it's like the best way to lose body fat and build muscle. Certainly don't think so. I think it's not optimal for maximizing muscle mass, and I think that there's no need to follow it if it's going to be a pain in the ass to stick to. Okay, all diets work in a very similar way. Okay, if you are in a calorie surplus, regardless of what you're doing, whether it's carb cycling, carb backloading, keto, paleo, whatever, if you're in a calorie surplus, you're going to gain weight. If you're on a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. Okay, and that's that. I think keto is just overhyped, and I think give it a try if you want, but I don't think it's, it has any other advantages over other approaches to nutrition. Stretching, mobility, and warming up. I'm going to be doing a separate video on this because it's something I've not covered, so stay tuned for that one. Next question. What do I think about online trainers who have a team interacting with their clients? This is quite interesting. I think it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's when you deceive those clients into tricking them, thinking that it's you they're communicating with. Okay, so if you say, I'm doing online coaching, you're going to be working with me, I'm going to be in contact with you, helping you out, and they have somebody else messaging you back and forth, I don't think that's very ethical. I don't think it's fair. Unfortunately, a lot of people do that. I've got to the point where I'm still doing everything by myself, but I can't. I'm working overtime now. Like, I just can't do it anymore. Okay, I have to. Something needs to give. Okay, I probably need to stop doing the customized programs because that's taking a lot of my time. But I think if you are honest about how the process works and who you're going to be working with, that's fine. But if you're lying to people saying that you're going to be working with me and I'm going to be creating your programs, and then they just give you some generic load of crap, then obviously I don't agree with it. I don't think it's fair. Okay, so if you are going to be purchasing something from someone in the fitness industry, just make sure you know what it is you're buying and try and get proof from them that it's going to be them that you're going to be working with. Okay, if someone's got over 1 million followers and they say they're going to be working with you face to face and they're not charging that much money for it, it sounds too good to be true, and it often is. How do you handle seeing folks using terrible form in the gym? I tell you what, it absolutely does my head in. Like, I don't know. It's like, how people have OCD or the obsessive compulsive disorder. OCD, yeah, obsessive compulsive disorder. That's what I'm like when I go to the gym and I see someone using bad form. I'm just like, like I can't not see it. Okay, and when I go to two gyms, I go to one which is like quite a bodybuilder gym, physique warehouse, and then I go to another gym, Nuffield Health, which is right next to my apartment. When I go to the bodybuilders one, you see most people lifting with decent form because people know what they're doing. You go into Nuffield Health, you get a lot of it tends to be older people or just people who are just not really into their weightlifting, and they have no idea what they're doing. And I will always go in there and I see someone doing something wrong. Okay, if they do something a little bit wrong, I just ignore it because I'm very focused on what it is that I'm doing. I don't have time to try and help everyone everywhere to make them a better lifter. Okay, I go in there, head down, do my thing. But there's been a few occasions where I've been seeing people doing the most ridiculous thing that I've just been like, oh my god, I actually can't let them carry on doing that. It's going to drive me mad and they're going to hurt themselves. Like the other day, there was a guy in his 50s doing behind the neck pull downs and the lat pull down, and he was going like, and I was like, what? He's going to absolutely ruin his shoulders. So after I watched it, I was doing leg press and I saw him doing that. I was like, wow. And then I saw him doing it again. And I went up to him and I said, if you're going to do that in the future, please can you do it? Do it in front of your neck. Don't do it behind your neck because you're gonna injure yourself. And he looked at me like, I don't know if he was happy that I'd told him that or whether he was thinking, who the hell are you? It was hard to say, but I felt like I needed to tell him, and I did feel better after telling him instead of just ignoring him. But if I go into a gym and everyone's doing bad form, there's not much I can do. I just need to go in there and do my thing. But if someone is seriously looking like they're going to injure themselves, then I'll step in and be like, please just stop doing that. You're going to destroy yourself. Why don't I grow my hair back? Number of reasons. Okay, what I do on a day-to-day basis, I get very sweaty. Obviously, I go to the gym sometimes, once, sometimes twice a day. Okay, and obviously I'm on YouTube, I'm on camera, and that would mean that I need to style my hair like twice a day. I need to wake up, I need to style it for YouTube, make a video, and then go to the gym. It gets messy, and then after that, I have to style it again. You know, when I had longer hair, it was an absolute ball ache trying to style it. You know, I'm not one of those guys where I could just go womf and, you know, it just looked slick and it just stayed in its place. No, it just goes. So I had to like spend a lot of time dealing with it, and it was just a faff really. And when I was in the gym and I was sweating, it looked terrible. And it's getting to the point now where it is receding, it's going back, and it's thinning around there. And when it was long, it just kind of really highlighted the fact that I do not have a full head of hair anymore, and it didn't look good. So yeah, I like just the lack of maintenance this requires. I'm happy with it. And it's funny because I see quite a few people that message, they don't message me, but they comment on my YouTube videos saying, "Oh, I need very hair back." And it's like, why does it matter? Like, what has my hair got to do with anything on my YouTube videos? I'm trying to teach you how to, you know, sort your nutrition out and your lifting out, and you're there just complaining about my hair. It shouldn't matter. I don't understand why this is an issue with people. Next question: what do I do in my spare time? Honestly, there isn't much spare time. I'm working a lot of the time now. Luckily, I do enjoy what I'm doing, but I just want to. I see myself being somewhere. I always want to see my business growing and my following growing, and especially with YouTube, it's very competitive. You always have to be on the ball. Like the moment you take your foot off the pedal and you just relax a little bit, you know, you don't necessarily, you're not as relevant, okay? And like I've got loads of different things to do, okay? I'm coaching people, I have my online clients, I have customized programs, I have some sponsors which I have to generate content for, I have my one-on-one clients in person, I have all the emails which I have to go through, and there's a hell of a lot of emails. Apologies to people who ask me for advice, I don't have time to answer people who ask me for advice. That's why I make these videos. And then there's other projects which I'm working on as well. And then there's YouTube. YouTube takes a hell of a lot of time, you know, just filming them. And I do a lot of editing. I've actually got someone on board to help me out with that. But I'm always doing something. And that's the problem when you run your own business. It's not like there's nothing to do. Like when I was in my last job, you kind of, as soon as you leave it, you leave it. It's like, right, I can just chill now. When you have your own business, there's always something to do. And there's always stuff to learn as well. So I'm trying to manage learning on top of that. So throughout the week, I don't really have days off. I tend to like go, you know, non-stop for 2 to 3 weeks, and then I will take an extended break. Okay, so the way I like to do it is I work my ass off for 3 weeks and then go somewhere for 5 days or a week, ideally abroad. I like to travel. So what I like to do in my spare time, I like to see the world. Okay, I like to eat good food. I like to spend my time with, you know, people who I genuinely enjoy being with. Okay, I've kind of changed my circle. I have lots of circle of friends, but a lot of them are really into partying and drinking, and I don't do that anymore. And I want to spend more time with people who are really into their career and their business, and you know, people who I can bounce ideas off. And yeah, so that's generally what I do. I guess life at the moment, it's not particularly exciting, but there's, at least for the next 6 months, there's things I need to do and that I need to create, and places I need to get to. Then I'll maybe go on, like, you know, I'll probably go do a little bit of traveling at the start of next year for sure. But for the rest of this year, I'm just getting my head down and grafting, because I spent a lot of time in the past just faffing about and doing nothing, and time is running out. Okay, I feel like time is absolutely flying by. I'm already 27, and there's things which I'm happy with where I am, but I feel like I could be much further. So I'm very driven. I need to progress. Okay. What am I self-conscious about? What am I most self-conscious about? Do you know what's interesting? I feel like the older I've got, the less I care. I think when I was younger, when I was growing up, I really didn't like my nose. I had a big nose. It was a big pointy ass nose, yeah. And I think particularly when I was younger as a teenager, before my nose grew first, my face was small, and I was like, holy shit! Like, people used to give me abuse for having a big nose, and I used to hate it. It used to make me really depressed. And then as I got older, like, I wasn't even thinking to get a nose job. It was that bad. But then as I got older, you just learn to kind of appreciate it. And like, it's, I am who I am. I actually get some compliments from people saying, oh, it's very masculine to have a strong nose. And thankfully, it's not like crooked or anything like that. It's straight. It's very pointy. But yeah, as I got older, I don't give a fuck. Like, I am who I am. I look like what I look like, and that's just the way it is. Deal with it. There's no, people who get really depressed and down about certain attributes they have. It's like, why should you care what other people think? Okay, it's the same with my hair. Like, my hair's receding a bit, and it's going thin at the top. Like, I shaved it. There was a temporary moment when I was like, holy shit, like, it got me down. I was like, oh, I don't know, it just made me think. But then I was like, especially when I first had it done, everyone was like, oh my God, what have you done? Why have you got rid of your hair? And I'm like, oh, just leave it out, will you? And then, people just get used to it. So now, I'm not self-conscious about anything. I'm very comfortable with who I am now. Someone asked, how do you start getting clients as a personal trainer starting from scratch? That's one question. And the other one, is it worth doing training in person, or is it better doing it all online? It's very hard starting off, I'll tell you that. Like, I remember I got into it. Obviously, I had a very good physique, and I thought, well, I have a good physique, so people should be queuing up to train with me. And they weren't. It was very hard to start off with. I think the best thing to do is just ask everyone you know, get them to ask their friends. You have to go out and hustle, maybe go in different gyms, try and poach people and be like, hey, would you be interested in training with me? You got to drop your prices to start off with. You can't charge high, unfortunately. The first thing you need to do is just get some clients and get some money coming in, and then once you get to the point where you're in demand, or you have a full list of clients, then you can start to put your prices up. But I think the best way is just get a few, and if you do a good job, they will refer you to their friends. That's one of the ways I get most of my business is from referrals. Like, I barely advertise my services, but because the people I work with really enjoy it and they've seen results, they go and tell their friends. So it's very hard to start off with, and it's very competitive, but you have to do a good job, and you have to, make it enjoyable for the client, and hopefully they'll refer you to their friends. Is it worth doing it in person or all online? If you are going to do it online, I would say it's absolutely essential you train people in person first, because I can't tell you how much I've learned from coaching people in person. It's just not, you can't coach someone if you've never trained someone in person. Okay, you just can't, in my opinion. You have to have the experience of training people in person. You have to have many hours under your belt. Okay, I've had thousands of hours under my belt of training people in person, and I've learned a hell of a lot from that. It's one of the reasons why I started off with YouTube, because of everything the Common Mistakes series. Everyone kept coming to me making the same mistakes. I was like, this is ridiculous, I'm going to make a video on it, and I did. But it depends what you want to do. If you do it all online, you get the benefit of being able to work wherever you want in the world almost, and you can kind of set your own schedule, kind of. But it does get a bit lonely. You just sat in front of a screen all day. So I like to do a couple of different things. I train quite a lot of people on the weekend. It's nice because you get to speak to people face to face, and it's fun most of the time. Another question: do you prioritize strength training at all, or is it just bodybuilding stuff? Honestly, it is mainly, well, by bodybuilding, I assume you mean hypertrophy-related training approach, which, yes, it really is. I am very much all about aesthetics and how I look. Obviously, I want to be strong. I don't want to be weak, but my goal is not to be the strongest I could possibly be. If I did, I would follow lots of strength training protocols. But from time to time, I will mix it up, and I'll be like, right, okay, it's time to get stronger on a certain number of lifts, because it brings the added benefits of, if you do get stronger, then you can lift more weight in the hypertrophy range, if you know what I mean, which should then bring you further gains. So if I do any strength training, it's not necessarily a full session dedicated to strength, but I may allocate the first third or first half of the session to strength related exercises. But I'll cycle it from time to time. Uh, I'll call it a day with this last question because this has probably been a pretty long video. So, what are your thoughts on Dorian Yates' training methods of only one proper working set per exercise? So that's like, he means by, one all-out set to failure. I think this is very good. I think it's very effective, but only for an advanced trainer, because one of the things, if you're pushing to absolute failure, it takes so much discipline and concentration to maintain the tension on the working muscle. It's so easy for you to just be like, other muscle groups coming in to help you to move that weight. So you have to have absolutely mastered your form and technique so that you can continue to keep that form when you reach failure. Okay, that's one thing that I think is very important. So only for advanced trainers. And then again, you can only really do it if you have a proper training partner who knows what they're doing. Okay, if you train by yourself, you just can't do it. And that's one of the problems I have with my own training. There's very few training partners. I've had a few in the past, but I do get the best results training by myself, unless there is someone who is very, very serious about their training. Because I train a lot of people who just, they just mess about in the gym, and it's fun, but it's like, okay, this isn't really helping my physique at all. So you need to have a training partner who really knows what you're capable of, who's going to, encourage you and help you on, especially the concept when you failed on the concentric phase, to help you get those extra reps out. And I think it's dependent upon the exercise as well. If you can have someone spot you on that exercise, it's a great technique. But I felt like, particularly in that session, when you do like bent over rows, or if you're doing an exercise where it's very hard to spot, I don't think that approach is optimal. I think you could probably do a couple more sets for that particular exercise, if you know what I mean. So say, for example, bent over row. Dorian couldn't spot me on a bent over row. Like, once I've reached concentric failure, I've failed. So I could have potentially done a few more sets on that. Same with the deadlift. But I think it's effective. It's definitely effective. But, not for beginners. Definitely not for beginners. Because they won't be able to keep their form, and they won't be able to mentally push themselves to what is required to get the benefits from that style of training. And it's interesting. I mean, obviously, that was an eye-opener about how effective it can be to have a proper training partner, because I did feel like some of those sets I pushed pretty goddamn hard, and even after doing 3 sets, I actually felt sick afterwards. I never feel sick, but because I pushed that hard, I felt sick. But it was also very interesting being a client for once, because I'm always, the roles are usually reversed. I'm usually the one who is coaching people, but to be on the other side, it was very interesting to see, to just feel what it was like to be a client, because so many people come and see me. They must watch me on YouTube all the time. They come and see me, and it can be quite nerve-wracking. And I think it's very important this is something personal trainers should take note of, to make that client feel very comfortable, okay? Because they might be quite nervous. It might be the first time they're doing it. Or if you are a social media influencer, they might be a little bit like, oh my God, it's so-and-so. And it's important to make things very clear for them. You can't get too technical and scientific about it, because they'll be like, what the hell are you talking about? And you've got to make it enjoyable as well, and create conversation in between sets. And yeah, it was just an eye-opener for me, but I really enjoyed it. It was really good. I wish you could take me for more sessions, to be honest. I think it would really transform my physique and take it to the next level. Not only because of who he is, but just because he's a good spotter, and he knows what he's talking about. But he's based in Spain, so I'll try and do another video with him. Probably the next video would be a leg day, but yeah, we'll see. So I'm going to wrap it up at that. No more questions. Again, I'm trying to figure out whether this is the best format to do this kind of thing. Maybe it's time for me to transition to starting my own podcast and doing these longer videos, well, longer clips of content in an audio version as opposed to a YouTube version, because you are just kind of watching me for however long this video has been, when you can actually instead just listen to me in your car or something. But yeah, let me know what you think, and I would be keen to, maybe I'll do one of these things once a month on my YouTube channel. I'm sure there'll be endless amounts of questions which can be covered, and I'd be happy to cover them. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I always say the same stuff when I finish a YouTube video. I never know how to finish. I'm always like... So, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon. What else am I supposed to say?